Okay, so now we're going to get into some of the mouse events that we have that we can listen for. And we've already looked at click, but there's many others as well. So I'm going to just pick something on the page to assign these event listeners to. I'm going to use the logo. So I'll say document.query selector, and I'll just select the IMG because it's the only IMG on the page. And then I'm going to put all my event listeners at the bottom of the page, which is my preference. If I have my event listeners hooked to a function, I like to put the functions up top and the event listeners in the bottom. So let's do a click just to be consistent and have all the mouse events. I know we've already looked at it, but we're going to say add event listener, and we're going to listen for a click, and then we'll have a function called onClick. All right, and then we'll create that function up here. I'm going to use arrow functions just to keep them shorter. So we'll say const onClick, and then I'm just going to do a console.log and say click event. All right, so if I come over here to the logo and I click, I'm going to see click event. So the next one I'm going to show you is double click. Now, what we call the function, like right here, I can call it anything. I'll call this on double click. This is where you need to be specific. So double click is DBL click, and it's all lowercase. It's not like this, right? If you've used jQuery before and you used events there, it was camel case, but in this case it's going to be all lower. So let's copy this down, and we'll say on double click, then let's say double click event. So now if I come over here and if I click once, I get click event. If I double click, I'm still going to get my two click events, but it's also going to fire off the double click event. All right, and just to make this a little more fun, let's actually put some curly braces here, make a code block, and let's have it do something else. So I would encourage you, if you're just learning this stuff, I'd encourage you to just create events and just do some weird stuff. You know, like maybe we can take the body background color and change it. So we'll say style dot background color, and we'll set that to purple. So now if I come over here onto the logo and I double click, we get a background of purple. And maybe we want to toggle it. So what we could do is put an if statement around this and say if it's not equal to purple, then we're going to make it purple, and we're also going to make the text white. So go like that, and then set the style color to white. Else, because we want to be able to toggle it, so else, then we're going to set the background to white, and we'll set the text color to black. All right, so now if I come over here and I double click, changes the background and the text color. I double click again, it goes back to white, and I can toggle it, right? Because we have an if statement, we're checking that background color. All right, so I mean, I know that's kind of pointless and stupid, but it helps you learn. So I would encourage you to just do stuff like this as you're learning. All right, the next, I know that was kind of a tangent, but the next one is if you want to right click, and the event is not called right click, it's called context menu, because that's what it usually does, is open up a context menu. But I'm going to call the function here on right click. And then I'll just, we'll grab that, and let's change this to on right click, and we'll say right click event. And again, if you want to do something else other than just a console log, you can, but you'll see now if I right click, the context menu opens up, but it also shows me the console log. Okay, the next one is the mouse down and mouse up. So let's do mouse down, and then we'll call this on mouse down. Now, we need to create our function. Let's say mouse down event, and we'll call this on mouse down. Okay, so what this pertains to is when you take your mouse and you just click and hold. See, I'm holding the left button down right now. That's the mouse down. Okay, when I let go, then it'll say click event because a click consists of down and up. A mouse down is just when you hold it down. Because you might have something, maybe you're creating a game where you like click and drag or something like that, and you want to have something happen when that, as soon as that mouse goes down. And at the same time, you can also have a mouse up. So let's say on mouse up, and we're going to listen for mouse up. And we'll just copy that, on mouse up and mouse up. All right, so now if I come over here and I click and hold, I can see the mouse down event. When I let go, we're going to see the click, but we also see the mouse up. Okay, so mouse down, mouse up. Next one is wheel. So if you want to have an event on the mouse wheel, and the event is called wheel. So we'll bring this down and let's say on mouse wheel. Okay, so now if I scroll and I'm not over that the logo, the item where this is on, then it's not going to do anything down here. But if I come over it and I scroll, now we'll see the mouse wheel event, and it's going to fire every time I do a little, a little scroll or whatever. So those are the events for the buttons. Now we also have events for hovering. There isn't an actual hover event. I know that for me, back in the day when I learned JavaScript, I also learned jQuery at the same time, which I wouldn't recommend. And there's a hover event in jQuery. But with JavaScript, you have mouse over and mouse out. So let's copy this down. And let's say mouse over. And then we'll say on mouse over. And then let's copy this down and say mouse over event on mouse over. All right, so now you'll see that when I go into the logo, that mouse over event fires off. Okay, if I come out, it doesn't do anything. If I go back in, again, so every time I go in, then it's going to fire that off. Now the out does the opposite. So let's say on mouse out, and the event is called mouse out. And out. All right, so now if I go in, I get mouse over. If I come out, I get mouse out. All right, so that's how that works. And then the last couple I want to show you have to do with dragging. So we'll get more into drag and drop later, but the first one I want to show you is drag start. So we're going to say on drag start, and the event name is drag start. Oops. And then let's go up here and copy that down. We'll call this on drag start event. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is come over to the logo. I'm going to click and hold and then move it. Okay, so you see that it only fires off when I click and I drag it. It only fires once. It doesn't like keep going when I'm holding it and moving it around. That's the drag event. So that's what I want to show you next. So if we do, let's say on drag and just drag, and then we come up here and just say on drag and drag event. So now as soon as I grab it and I pull, it's going to say drag start, but as long as I'm holding on to it, even if I don't move barely, it still is just going to keep firing off. And the faster I go, the faster, the event's going to go off. So that's drag. And then you also have drag end for when it ends. So let's say on drag end. And say drag on drag end. All right, so now if I grab it, So you can see drag, and then when I let go, well, we should get that drag end. Oh, I put, I did camel case here. All right, so if I let go, there we go, drag end event. So it'll just keep dragging until I let go, and then we get the drag end. All right, so those are mouse events. In the next video, I want to, before we move on to like keyboard events and stuff, I want to look at the event object. So there's actually an object when we fire off an event that we can get as a parameter here that we can use to get all kinds of information. So I want to look at that in the next video.